folks, coming up at Roland Unfiltered for Tuesday, June 18, 2019. Activists march in New York demanding that all of the cases of Linda Fairstein be reopened. The rally took place outside the New York District Attorney's Office of Cyrus Vance on yesterday. We'll talk with Tamika Mallory, one of the co-leaders of the Women's March. Harvard rescinds its offer to a Parkland high school student for racist and anti-Semitic posts on social media. But conservatives are saying, oh my goodness, what is wrong here? This is just not right. I mean, he's being targeted. He was the one who made the racist comments. We'll break this thing down. Also, again at Harvard, a black professor is out as dean because of his representation of Harvey Weinstein. Well, he now has dropped from that case as well, but him and his wife put out, both of them professors at Harvard Law School, put out a video last week speaking on this very issue. We'll share it with you. Also, we'll talk with the chancellor of the New York City schools, who is not backing down from people in the administration. They say he is divisive and he's targeting white people. Oh my goodness. Richard Carranza joins us right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Plus, a black police officer who was shot by a white cop speaks out about racial division in that police department. And tonight, a new show from my frat brother Will Packer, debuts on OWN. It is called Ambitions, a new soap opera. I talked to the cast of Ambitions at American Black Film Festival. We'll talk about who's going to be the show ho. And wait till you see the reaction when the issue of eating groceries came up. Oh, it's time to bring the funk, Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
The pressure continues on Linda Fairstein. She was, of course, the woman who headed up the sex crimes division of the Manhattan DA's office that prosecuted the Central Park Five. She, of course, has lost her book publishing deal. Her agent has dropped her. She also has resigned from various boards. Elizabeth Lederer, the woman who also prosecuted the case, she is not coming back as a law professor at Columbia University, a law lecturer, and she also is not, she's no longer with the district attorney's office. But that's not enough. Protesters yesterday took to the streets saying it's time for Cyrus Vance, the Manhattan DA, to reopen every single case of Linda Fairstein to see whether or not she was fair to all those who were prosecuted. Again, the Netflix show, When They See Us, has really put lots of attention on this particular issue. And so we have some of the video from yesterday's rally. Love to see it right now, folks. But right now we want to talk to Tamika Mallory. She's the co-president of the Women's March. Tamika, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. The pressure is staying on the folks there in New York. Why is this so important?
Well, for many reasons, and one of the things I wanted to correct is that Elizabeth Lederer, the woman who actually sat in the prosecutor's chair for the trial, she does still work within the Manhattan DA's office now. Okay. So she is still an employee of this city. And we know what happened in the Central Park Five case. I think what's important, Exonerated Five, is they've now their title, their name has been changed. I think what's important for us to note is that a movie did not give us any new information. So we're not learning anything new from Ava's film. While it is amazing and it gives people the opportunity to feel and see what these young men went through and how corrupt the system was and continues to be. We knew this information. Ken Burns has a documentary that we watched many years ago with the same information. And many of us, people like myself, And some of the activists were literally involved. My parents were protesters and they were engaged, in standing up for the Exonerated Five at the time that all of this was happening. And again, no new information. What we want today, because to relitigate the Exonerated Five case, we know that that's not going to happen. That case is closed. But what we want to be able to see at this time is whether or not there are other victims, because we believe that if you get away with something one time, you will do it again. And as they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And we believe that there are more people who've experienced the same type of treatment from this particular prosecutor, Elizabeth Fairstein, and her team. And so that's what we're asking for now. And the district attorney in New York, Cy Vance, at this point has said that he will not open the cases.
But what the Netflix series has done, though, first and foremost, it has introduced this case to a whole new generation who had no clue. You mentioned the Ken Burns documentary that came out years ago. Secondly, what it also has done is Netflix is also seen worldwide. So for a lot of people who never even saw the Ken Burns documentary on PBS, there are people who have been talking about this from all across the world. And so that, to me, I think is also, and when the Ken Burns documentary came out, social media wasn't what it is today. Within 48 hours of that series dropping on May 31st, Fairstein, who had been on social media for a number of years, canceled all of her social media. She was on the run. People then began to target her publisher, her agent, and so it did give a renewed focus on this particular this egregious case.
And a very necessary energy, for fighting against prosecutorial misconduct and, really trying to find ways to have oversight for DAs and conviction review boards. All of that is happening. And, Ava said something that I thought was so powerful, which is that everyone involved in this case needs to be held accountable. But to lay it all on one woman is not enough, because she is not the only actor here. Within the first 2 months of Ken Thompson, who is the Brooklyn DA, he has passed away now.
Right.
He passed away with cancer at 50 years old. But when he became the Brooklyn DA, within the first 2 months, he exonerated over 20 people. I believe the number is 23. And one of the things that he found is that the trend was in all the cases was that one officer was involved. So this one officer had touched all the cases where he was able to exonerate innocent people. And even in this particular, in the Manhattan DA's office, there is a case where I've been telling people to go and Google People versus Jovanovic. That's Javanoc. I may have missed the letter, but Jovanovic. So Janavonic. People should go and research that case. It is another example of the type of dirty work that went on under this woman's her leadership as the sex crimes unit prosecutor. There is another case out there where this gentleman had hit the appellate court overturned his conviction because it seems that text messages were kept out of the evidence when they were presenting the case, when the prosecution was presenting the case. And those text messages clearly show that there was consensual sex between this man and woman who were both students at Barnard College. And again, an appellate court had to overturn the conviction. And he spent 20 months in jail. He was attacked. It seems that he was stabbed or sliced across his neck. I mean, we're talking about ruining people's lives and people's families. And we believe that the district attorney in New York, he cannot just tell us that he won't look into these cases, but then claim to be a progressive leader and, walking around going to our churches and other places, but unwilling to check into whether or not our young men and women have been sent to prison.
Apologize to the Central Park Five, the Exonerated Five. This is that exchange.
April.
Mr. President, will you apologize to Central Park 5? They've been exonerated. There have been videos and movies shown about the case, and you came out with a full-page ad saying that they should die, that they should have the death penalty.
Why do you bring that question up now? It's an interesting time to bring it up. You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt. If you look at Linda Fairstein and if you look at some of the prosecutors, they think that the city should never have settled that case. So we'll leave it at that. April.
Mr. President, will you apologize to Central Park 5?
In the arrogance there of Donald Trump. One saying, why would you bring it up? Well, the man who watches more damn television than anybody who's been president should clearly know what the hell is going on.
Right.
But again, it's arrogant people like him. It's also remind people Mike Bloomberg did not want to settle this case.
Absolutely.
Ray Kelly did not want to settle this case. And the city of New York, we had Raymond Santana on this show, the city of New York to this day refuses to release the depositions that led to the $41 million settlement with them. Your thoughts on that?
You know, first of all, Donald Trump is lying. The question has been raised many times. While he was running for president, the question about the Central Park 5 was raised, and there was a lot of press, specifically around Youssef and some of the other folks, some of the other five who were more vocal. There was a lot of press on them and a lot of questions asked of how they felt, and you know, and they were able to tell their story. So that's a lie. But you know, he's the both sides president. He is the person who wants to be on the sides of the cops and the robbers. And in this particular situation, the police officers, the judges, the district attorney, these people knew exactly what they were doing. And it does not surprise me at all, because at the time, Donald Trump was a major figure in New York. And in fact, we believe that the ads that he purchased and the way in which he criminalized these young men and helped to convict them before they even went to court, that he was a big part of that his influence in this city was a big part of it. So it doesn't make me feel confused or, you know, surprise me at all that he would say what he has said. But what we know is that these young men were framed. And you know, I heard that the survivor in this particular case, the Central Park 5 jogger, I read a statement from her saying that she wants the depositions and all of the files to be released to be able to prove that the police officers and the law enforcement in this particular situation did not commit any crimes. You know, she believes that, but at the same time, she goes on to say that you know, she's been wanting it to be out there for a long time to put her heart and mind at rest. So, you know, there's two things going on there, and I appreciate and understand that she wants to stand by those who she feels stood by her.
Right.
That law enforcement at that time stood by her. They promised her that they would find the people who did this to her, or who assaulted her and left her for dead. But they have found that person. The person came forward, which is Mr. Reyes, who told his truth, and the only DNA evidence at the scene of that incident belongs to him. None of the five men who went to jail, you know, or the five young boys who are now men, went to jail for this crime. So we just want to open the books. I think it's a simple request, and it should be something that this city would get behind immediately to be able to prove their innocence and that they are not complicit in locking up young men and women of color.
Tamika Mallory, always a pleasure. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Roland.
All right, let's go to my pound. Dr. Jason Nichols, Department of African American Studies, University of Maryland. Kelly Bethea, Communications Strategist, as well as Malik Abdul, Vice President, Black Conservatives Federation. No shock here, Donald Trump doesn't have the guts to actually apologize, Jason. To try to say, oh, people on both sides admitted, no. What we do know is that those confessions were beaten. We know that the cops violated the law by talking to folks who were underage. And the bottom line is, and then by saying, well, she opposed, you know, the settlement. Well, hell yes, she opposed the settlement because she didn't want to own up to exactly what the hell happened.
Absolutely. And it's funny, Donald Trump, who avoids talking to the authorities at all costs, he thinks it's okay for people to talk to the authorities, young people to talk to the authorities without representation and without adults. Donald Trump doesn't apologize for anything. And one of the things that I know, at least my father always taught me is the sign of a man is when he's willing to admit that he's wrong. He certainly is not. He was mentioned in the movie, so there's a reason why April Ryan asked that question. He's a big part of, I believe, the first episode of the series. And I think it is important, the point that you made and that Ms. Mallory made, and that is that this is not new. We've all known about this. This has been something that's been out there for a long time, but it shows the power of media. And this is why I think Roland Martin Unfiltered is so important, and black-owned media is so important, because without Ava DuVernay raising this issue, which has been out for 20 years or more, these things would not be happening. People would not be being held accountable.
Kelly, very simple. If I'm the Democratic nominee, I'm inviting the Exonerated Five to a debate, and I'm going to look across that stage. I'm going to say, Donald Trump, man up right now and have the guts to apologize to these young men for you calling for the death penalty when they had been fully exonerated.
No, absolutely. And further, I don't know if this actually happened, but I would sue for defamation because he knowingly published something that wasn't true. The third party knew it wasn't true. It was just complete negligence all around in terms of the publication of those ads and whatnot. But to take it further, I would sue him because it was before his presidency. He still, unless there's a statute of limitations for defamation in New York, however long that is, if it's still available to sue, I would. I would not only open up the cases regarding Fairstein, I'd open up the ones regarding Lederer. Every single detective that was involved in that case and cases within the sex crimes unit at that time. And it just, I want this to be a snowball effect in terms of exactly what gets discovered, exactly what the punishments are, and really just make an example for this not to ever happen again, because it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Still happens all the time, Malik, to black folks, Latinos, and it's sort of the same thing. We're not going to apologize. We're not going to admit guilt. We're not going to say it was wrong. We'll just cut you a check and go away. Donald Trump is a despicable man for refusing to apologize, calling for the death penalty of those young men, and now we know they didn't do it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's despicable for this particular situation.
Why can't he apologize? Why can't he admit he's wrong?
Well, because we know why Donald Trump is 73 years old, and so the odds of him changing much about him as far as him apologizing are pretty slim.
And that's why he's despicable.
And I think we do.
You're despicable. You are despicable if you don't have the courage to acknowledge that taking out a full-page ad calling for the death penalty of these 5 boys at the time, who we now know did not do it, and actually, had they not targeted them, they could have actually caught the actual guy who did it, who could have prevented another woman from being raped. That he has
And murdered.
And murdered. He has earned the title of being despicable.
Well, for me, talking about Donald Trump does a disservice to the entire argument of you were talking about with the CP5.
Got it.
I don't think that he's a relevant part of this discussion at all. I think the fact that a judge decided that their sentences should be vacated, that's the story. Donald Trump was about 1 minute or so of the entire film.
Actually, it was. No, it was more than that. It was more than that. It was nice try, Malik, but it was more than that.
Well,
A full-page ad in the New York Times.
all of that is irrelevant, and unfortunately,
It's irrelevant. No, it's not.
What this plays into is the conversation, because I've been pushing back against conservatives who have made this about defending Donald Trump. So what this
That's what you're doing.
So what this is really jumping in there and making the entire
The Trump comment was recent. He just made it a few moments ago.
The movie wasn't about Donald Trump. The case wasn't about Donald Trump.
Episode
the case was about CP5.
The first episode had a large portion about Donald Trump.
To make it about Donald Trump.
The first
to all of my viewers.
Does a disservice to the entire.
To all of my viewers and all of my listeners.
You're doing a disservice to your own.
To all of my viewers and listeners. Only one person took out a full-page ad
and that's
saying they should give the death penalty. That was Donald Trump.
That's
Okay,
irrelevant
all
to
right.
the discussion. You
All right,
don't wanna
folks.
talk about that 'cause it benefits your policy.
No. Actually,
But
no.
It doesn't.
It
We can talk about this.
what it does is
without talking about Donald Trump.
You cannot talk
yes,
about
you can.
the Exonerated
Absolutely
Five
you can.
without talking about
Absolutely
all
you
the
can.
people
Well, sure,
who played
but we're
into this whole
focusing on
deal.
Donald
You're
Trump on this
defending a
particular- I'm not
despicable
defending
man.
him. I'm not
You're
defending
defending
him at
him.
all.
All right, y'all.
You don't know the
I'm going to my next story. I'm going to my next story. I got it. I'm going to my next story. I'm going to my next story. New York City Council members, folks, are calling for school chancellor Richard Carranza to be fired, saying that his practices are divisive. Here's what he had to say about that. Well, first of all, I'm not going to play the video. I've got him right here. Let's go right to the video. Chancellor Carranza, how you doing?
I'm good, Roland. How are you?
I'm just going to get right to it. Why are so many white folks in New York scared of you?
Because there's been a hegemony of certain people getting all the privilege for decades and decades and decades. And when you think about the 1.1 million students in New York City's public schools, 70% of those students are Black and Latino students. And we're actually having a children's agenda that's based on equity for them. And the power structure doesn't like it.
And so you have folks who are saying that you targeted them because of their gender, because of their race, saying that you are promoting unqualified people of color. We always hear that phrase. I never hear anybody white call somebody else white unqualified. And it is as if folks are just targeting you. Now you got the New York City Council. And so, what is your position on this and how are you fighting back?
Well, just keep in mind, there was only 7 council members.
Did we lose? There you go. You back?
Okay. Yeah, I'm back.
We got you.
There was only 7 that signed this letter asking the mayor to make me stop or find another chancellor, but there was over 25 council members that signed another letter saying he not only needs to keep going, he needs to double down on what he's talking about, because we've had historic segregation in the New York City's public schools. In 2014, UCLA did a study that called us the most segregated school system in America. And how can that be in a diverse city like New York City? What's the systems and structures that have been put in place for a very long time to privilege some kids and not privilege others?
And the thing that I keep trying to explain to people when they throw out progressive and liberal, I keep saying a progressive white person and a conservative white person has one thing in common: protect whiteness. And the reality is this comes also down to power. This comes down to control. Even this whole battle over the elite schools there. Because the bottom line is those schools, when you look at the numbers now, just the paucity of Black and Latino students, they know that that's the gateway, some of the best schools in the country. And there are folks who want to protect their positions.
Well, when you think about even the elite schools, Stuyvesant High School in New York City, internationally known. There's a single test that you have to take to get into Stuyvesant High School. It's not related to any of the state standards. It's not related to anything that kids study all day long. It's a test that's created to be a hard test. And in order to do well on that test, you have to get all kinds of outside tutoring. There's a cottage industry that is sprouted up to test prep kids to death at the low cost of thousands of dollars. And out of the 900 incoming freshman seats this coming year, 9, not 9%, 9 seats are going to Black students. Now, the data is incontrovertible, and the data says that the system and the structure for admitting students to specialized schools is just not working, and it's not capturing the talent of the student body in New York City. But what makes it even more egregious, Roland, is that in 1971, the chancellor at the time and the Board of Education at the time were concerned about this very issue, and they wanted to desegregate the 3 specialized schools at the time, Stuyvesant being one of them. And the state legislature in New York State put a state law in place requiring the single test as a sole source of admission to the specialized schools as a direct response to the desegregation efforts that were being made in 1971 to desegregate these schools. That law is racist in its intent, and it's still on the books. So even if I as chancellor want to change that law, which I do, even if the mayor who has mayoral control of the school system wants that gone, he does. We have to get the legislature to lift that law to even be able to do what we need to do for our children right here in New York City. That's what systemic oppression looks like.
You have a school district that's majority minority, yet when you look at those who are teachers and administrators, majority white.
Yes.
I keep making this point when I travel around the country because I'm an ardent supporter of charter schools. I say I support every form of education. I said, but the problem that I fundamentally have is that the ed reform movement is largely led by white folks. I said, and black folks and Latinos are tired of having somebody else tell us what's best for us. We want to be able to control our own destiny, and that's what we're seeing here and what we're dealing with in New York City and many of these big city school districts. We're dealing with not just elite schools, but billions of dollars also at play when it comes to contracts. That's also a fundamental thing you have here, high-paying positions and billions of dollars at play, and who gets to control those resources.
Absolutely. And I've been chancellor here now for 14 months. And when I arrived here, I did a top to bottom look at the entire system and structure, did a reorganization, and then advertised for new senior cabinet level positions. And the talent that came out of the woodwork, not only here in New York City, but from across the country, and the talent that was diverse was incredible. And I hired the most diverse cabinet that this organization has seen in the last 30 years. And it just so happens they were the best qualified, but they also reflect the diversity of our student body. And that's what you alluded to in the beginning, where we're being sued because we're being accused of bringing in people of color and moving aside folks that are white. No, I'm just hiring the best qualified people that have an orientation for serving the kids that we have right now, not the kids we used to have, the kids we wish we would have had, the kids that we have right now in the school system.
And what you're doing is, being someone who is Latino, you are saying, hey, I want to see everybody. We know how this game works. Before you came to New York, you were there in Houston. I knew you went to Houston Independent School District. Same thing, majority minority school district, okay? And it comes down to control and power. And the reality is, and I've been saying this for the longest, that we were operating in this age of white fear. And the white fear is about power and control. And that is who controls the resources, who is in position of power to change curriculum and things along those lines. And as America becomes more brown, you're seeing this resistance because folks can't stand, and let's just deal with it. They can't, I put it on the table. There are people there, no doubt in my mind, who cannot stand taking orders from a Latino man.
Well, I should be taking their order at a restaurant, not taking orders as a chancellor. And you're absolutely right. And I call them out on it. And when they refer to students not being able to go to some of the best schools in New York City, and then they say to me as a justification, well, we don't want to water down the academic talent at these schools. Well, who are they talking about? They're talking about kids that aren't represented right now. They're Black and Latino kids. And they are saying that Black and Latino kids don't have the academic talent to go to these schools, yet they've been structurally shut out of opportunities to go to these schools. And then you have that coming from a Latino chancellor who was an English language learner when he entered public schools. And it's like, who does this guy think he is? What an uppity guy does he think he is? He should be quiet. Well, I'm not going to be quiet. And I'm not going to be so concerned about trying to keep my job and going along to get along that I'm not going to do my job. And my job is to serve the students. And as a chancellor, my job is to look at every system, every structure, every protocol we have in place and make sure that it is serving all of our 1.1 million students. That's what I'm doing. And as you can tell, some of the tabloids and some of the folks in the city don't like it.
Last question here. I'm looking at this $90 million lawsuit that was filed against you by 3 senior white educators. And here's the other thing. They say they were demoted in favor of less qualified minority educators. But here's the deal. You also got a fundamental education crisis in New York City. There are a bunch of people who, frankly, need to go because the kids are not getting the education they need. We can look at the test scores. We can look at the fact that you got 20 and 30,000 people who are trying to get into success charter schools, getting away from a New York City school system. And there are people, frankly, who've been sitting in jobs for a long time who need to go. And that's also, I think, part of this whole deal as well. So this pushback, because again, If they were doing such a great job, why are kids not learning?
Absolutely. And as the CEO of a $32 billion a year organization, which is the Department of Education, I'm the CEO. There's 156,000 employees in the public school system of New York City. And as a CEO, why are certain tabloids, focusing on the hiring of a certain small group of people? And notice, they're not saying that the people they're saying that are not qualified are all black and they're all Latino. And the people they're saying are eminently qualified are white. Don't tell me there's not a racial animus to this whole conversation. But this is a conversation we need to have. And the impact is too important. It's about our children in New York City. Right now, specifically, it's about our children in New York City. But let's not get it twisted. This is about every child that's being educated in public school systems across America. Because if we don't educate them well in the public education system, there is another system called the criminal justice system, the school to prison pipeline, that will take them off of our hands. And that's not what we want. It's a matter of life and death. And that's why I won't be silenced. We won't be silenced. And this movement around equity and making sure we have the best people in the best places to serve our children is not going to stop.
Chancellor Carranza, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, then. Good luck. All right, folks, let's go to our panel here. Again.
Well, I just want to say, when he's ready to run for office, he can call me as a Democratic strategist. I will certainly support him. I think everything he said was absolutely on point. Everything that he was saying about hiring and making changes. I don't know any CEO of any company who doesn't enter in and start shifting things around and start seeing his own vision, implementing his own vision, instead his or her own vision, rather than just going along with what's been done, particularly when what's been done has failed, and that's the reason they're there. So what he's doing is the right thing to do. He's trying to serve the people of New York City better. We know that there's been a huge gap in between Stuyvesant and Bronx Science and Brooklyn Tech and the schools that produce, college-ready students and the kids who go to their neighborhood schools that are failing. And he's trying to fix that. I wish him all the best in what he's doing.
Kelly, when I was at CNN, there were some white folks who had no position being in some of the positions they were in. No, I'm going to put it out there. And there are other companies out there where there's some mediocre-ass white people in positions. Now, there are people out there who are white who are doing a hell of a job. But what you have here, and we've seen this in many other areas, is that when you start going after paychecks, see, they love talking about inclusion, diversity, how these things are important. But then when it comes knocking on their door, all of a sudden they now are being assessed by somebody different based upon a standard. Now folks start getting all upset. And also we talk about those tabloids. Okay, look at how many white editors they have. See how diverse their so-called offices are. You ain't gonna find it. And that's what we're dealing with. And I keep telling everybody, black folks and Latinos are not sitting around playing this little nice game. We are 24 years away from America being a nation majority of people of color. And there are white folks who are scared to death of losing power and losing money.
And the whole point of this is, like what you said earlier, is the fact that it is because of power. But what's interesting is with Carranza's, is that how you say his name? Carranza?
Yeah, Carranza.
With Carranza's plan, it doesn't disenfranchise white people. It's never a minority's job, or whenever a minority is in power, that's the most inclusive, that's the most diverse, that's the most beneficial system that we always ever have. There's never been a time where it's just been about black and brown people. Whenever something benefits black and brown people, it ultimately also benefits white people. So when he talks about these initiatives that he has, and I was reading how they wanted to change the 3 R's to 5 R's, one of them being restorative justice and race enrollment. Even with race enrollment, it is to balance out things. It's never taking away from anybody. It's never subtracting value. It always adds value to implement diversity and to actually restore things to a balance that benefits everyone. So it's really frustrating. I can only imagine how frustrated he is in trying to just actually do his job and make sure that everyone benefits from a city that's supposed to be beneficial to everyone.
Key thing he said, Malik, $32 billion.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. That's what we're dealing with. And that's why we're dealing with, again, this white fear of where America is going, because it's like, oh my goodness, they're coming for my jobs. Now, it's some mediocre people who need to move on to their own divine good, and he's helping them get there.
Yeah, well, this is what I'll say the two things based on Justice Case and the gentleman who was on. I'll start where you were at the beginning of your comments, talking about this is why I support charter schools, not as the answer to our problem with our education here, but an answer. And the second part of that is that this entire situation speaks to the need of to the necessity for us to focus on local issues. A lot of times there's some reason why that's so, and some are good reasons, and then some are not. But a lot of times we get, as far as black people, we get ourselves caught up in the national discussion, and we lose focus on those local issues. If he had the people of New York City behind him, pushing for his, supporting his efforts, that's something that really can affect the citizens of New York. No, it's not a national thing. You're not going to have national politicians going out there.
Yeah, everything in New York is national, like New York City.
No, but I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the need for local involvement in local politics.
No, it's happening. First of all, that is
local
happening.
Politics
He
matter.
has the full support of the mayor. He's got other people. We talked about all those council members. But what you're dealing with here, Kelly, again, what you're dealing with the individuals who also have access to media. Mm-hmm. And see, this is the piece that people don't understand. This is why we at the National Association of Black Journalists continue to put pressure on these companies. Just yesterday, it's a perfect example, just yesterday, CNN named Janita Dew, Senior Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. All right? Made a big deal, the hit VP for diversity. 2 years later, she left. And then Ramon took over. He became head of diversity. So this is not a promotion. She was there, got demoted, now she's back. But she's a lawyer.
Right.
She's not a news exec.
Right.
She has no journalism background.
Right.
She's a lawyer. And so we blasted him back saying, oh, guess what? You still don't have any black news managers, journalists making editorial decisions at your company. He must have thought that by nominating her, that's going to cause us to back off. Y'all go to my Instagram page. I played the video for the movie Malcolm X, where he says, okay, break it up. Y'all got what y'all want. And he says, no, I'm still not satisfied. And that's our position. And that's what this is all about. And Zucker keeps wanting to sit here and come after me saying, oh, Roland Martin set CNN back because of the town hall. First of all, I ain't seeing no email. Donna Brazile did. So you got issues, call her. But here's what's interesting. He has yet to, in 100 days, yet to address our initial criticism. Why you ain't got no black folks? He keep trying to call my name all he wants to. But he is not. Jeff Zucker refuses to address the issue. Why you don't have any black folks? And these papers that Karan was talking about, it's the exact same thing. These high-ranking positions, the exact same thing. What people need to understand, we talk about systematic racism, is that we're talking about systems. Where you have a sprinkle of color. A few black people here, a few Latino people here. In media, they like, hey, you got Robin Roberts. You got Al Roker.
Right.
You got Gail King.
Right.
And guess what?
Public facing.
Guess what? They're on air.
Right. And
I'm talking about a person who is sitting in that suite,
Executive suite,
who says, this is what we're covering today. This is where we're sending our resources. This is what we're focusing on. And that's what Karan's is doing. What he is saying is, as a Latino man, I'm looking at this whole situation from my perspective and saying, how in the hell can I have a district that's damn approaching 80% minority? Because all the white folks in New York send their kids to private school. And go, this has to change.
Right.
And so now, Kelly, I'm going to open it up. Oh my goodness, look at the diverse resumes. These are the folks who want to work for the New York City public school system. Whereas the previous folks shut out those people. That's the difference when you got black folks and Latino folks of conscience. I did work for a quasi-Negro at CNN. But this is what happens when you got, no, I did, when the number 2 at CNN had the audacity to say that there were no African Americans at CNN at the time who were qualified to host a show. A black man told NABJ that.
Wow.
That's why when he got fired, we ain't say nothing. But the point I'm saying here is, this is what happens when you have people of conscience who say, I am not going to continue to be a part of a system that locks us out. That's what he's saying here.
And you said everything that I was going to say, but to reiterate, this is a problem of power. And once black people are in a position of power, that's when white people and white adjacent people scurry and get threatened and try to reinforce the power that they already have. So what Carranza's doing is, like you said, if you think of it kind of like a machine, and you, like you said, like a little sprinkle, like black people are just like little gears in the machine, but they're the gears that people can see in the machine. So if you think like a grandfather clock, you see those gears moving, and yes, they are integral part of said clock. They are integral part of the machine, but if you take one out, that clock will still work. If you take that black person out, that machine will still work. We need to be in a position where we're not just a little mechanical gear. We are actually the transmission, something that actually will propel the machine to move forward.
And Jason, what this also speaks to is that when a Richard Carranza creates the opportunities for people of color who are black, who are Latino, what then happens is when somebody else wants a superintendent, they're going to look to that.
Right.
It's the same thing, again, and I need people to understand, why are we constantly riding Jeff Zucker? Because when another network is looking for a number 1 or number 2 or number 3, where are they going to look? If they don't have any intro candidates, they're going to look elsewhere. Well, if there's nobody at CNN, can't hire somebody there. If who's at NBC, who's at ABC, who's at CBS, who's at Fox. That's how this system works. So when you look up and you got 2 or 3 amongst all the networks, you're never going to be able to get a shot. In the history of the media business, an African American has never been a network president.
Wow.
Right.
Never.
Wow.
Never. When we talk about schools, if you actually count up the number of black and Latino superintendents, we are not talking about a hell of a whole lot. We're talking about a small pool of people. What he's also doing is creating the next generation of superintendents, and that's why they're upset, because that's the high-paying jobs. That's the ones who have the power. And what happens with superintendents? They go from one place
Sure
to the next
Go
one,
on to another one.
to the next one, to the next one.
Exactly.
And like head football coaches in football and basketball, they create a coaching tree. People who they bring in.
Feeder school,
So if
all
I'm
that.
white, I keep bringing in the same white folks. Guess who's going to be the next superintendents? Then when they become superintendents, who they going to hire? Same folk. Then when they get same folk, that's why all of a sudden they're calling this toxic whiteness, or he's afraid of white people. Give me a break. Right on comment.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely correct. He's and what he's doing is a really good thing. Number one, because people of color and children of color, at least I can tell you in the state of Maryland, for example, are the majority. They are the majority of people under the age of 18. So how goes young kids of color is how goes the nation. If you want to improve the education and improve the prospects of this entire nation, you need to focus on children of color. And we know that there has been a gap in terms of reading, in terms of math skills. We need to address that. And if we don't, we will fail as a nation.
That's right. And so, Richard Carranza, keep it up, keep fighting. And let me say this right now to Jeff Zucker. If you think we are going away, you are wrong. To every other media company, we will hold you accountable as well. And this stuff is happening in Wall Street, hedge funds, corporate America, schools, you name it, because this generation of black folks, we are not asking your permission. We are demanding equality. We're demanding freedom. And we're not going to sit idly by as another generation keeps getting major positions. I'm not satisfied. We'll be back at Roland Martin Unfiltered in a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Trump, doggone podium. All right, folks, they're back. MarijuanaStock.org is another great investment opportunity. Now, if you were lucky enough to invest in their last crowdfunding campaign, you know they raised a bunch of money in just a few months investing in legal marijuana farms. Those initial investors now own shares of a publicly traded company. Folks, now again, a lot of y'all missed it, but now you have a second chance. They have a new investment opportunity that is as good, if not even better, than the last. I'm talking about industrial hemp CBD. Now, for those who don't know, the hemp plant is the cousin to marijuana with a much higher concentration of CBD, which means hemp CBD gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Now, until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S. and creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all the plants, which makes for an incredible investment opportunity. And that's where our good friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is real simple. They buy the land that supports the hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right. They are hemp CBD landlords. And you can get in on the action. You can invest in this crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200 up to $10,000. Folks, if you want to invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org to get in the game. All right, folks. Also, we're going to be in Atlanta. Real soon, talking about this whole issue here. And so we look forward to seeing you. It's going to take place on Saturday, June 29th. It's called Investment in Marijuana and CBD, Millions in Marijuana, Locked Up, Locked Out. And so if you want to participate, again, you can do so. I'm going to pull the graphic up. Here we show the graphic, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And again, at the GICC Convention Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And so if you go to Eventbrite, type this in, you can participate. Our goal, and let me be real clear, okay, this is important here. There are a lot of people who are talking about expungement. Folks who do that, more power to them. What we're talking about here are black folks getting paid from this. This thing has not gotten mature. Black people were grossly impacted by what took place, getting locked up because of marijuana. This is now to have black people to get paid because of this, okay? White folks are making money, billions off of legal marijuana. Now is not the time for us to get locked out. Here we go back to the graphic. So Atlanta, June 29th, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll be participating. So again, you go to marijuanastock.org. You can get more information. All right, folks, the Poor People's Congress started on yesterday where they hosted the Poor People's Campaign Presidential Forum. Our cameras were there, and here are some of what the candidates had to say.
There will never be any real change in this country unless there is a political revolution. And that means that millions of people have got to stand up and fight and take on the corporate interests, the billionaire class, the 1%, and tell them that in this country, our economy and our government belong to all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
We need to see what is happening in our country and treat our fellow human being as we would our neighbor, as we would want for ourselves. And so that's how I think about the issues before us. And I thank you all, everyone here, for your service, for your leadership, for this being such a personal cause, which is to fight for the least among these and to give voice and to lift people up with all that they deserve around voice and around dignity.
With great income inequality, what's happened is the charlatans have been able to pit black folks against white folks, against Latinos, etc. And because if you have a problem, it's the other. Look what's happening now. The reason why the poor folks are poor is because of all those immigrants, all those Muslims, all those African Americans, etc. It's a bunch of malarkey. And the fact of the matter is that the People Campaign intends to end this exploitation. And the exploitation is more extreme than it's ever been because of the gigantic income inequality that exists here in America. It's greater than any time since the turn of the last century.
We have a fundamental issue, and that is, who is our government going to work for? Is it going to just keep working for the rich and the powerful, keep working for a thinner and thinner slice at the top? Or are we going to have a government that works for everyone else? Well, I want a government that works for everyone else, and that's what this fight is all about. So I'm in this one all the way.
The most common jobs in our economy are now being automated away. We've automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs, and now we will automate away millions of retail jobs, call center jobs, truck driving jobs, and on through the economy. This is an economic natural disaster. And who suffers in an economic natural disaster? Who suffers in a natural disaster? Yes, poor people, people of color, marginalized communities.
All right, folks, for the rest of the week, we're going to be showing you all the candidates who spoke and more from the Congress. They're going to be tomorrow appearing before the House Budget Committee, laying out the budget agenda for the Poor People's Campaign. And also tomorrow is going to be a House Committee dealing with H.R. 40, dealing with reparations. And so Ta-Nehisi Coates and Danny Glover, they are two of the folks who are going to be speaking as well. So we'll have a roundup of that, both of those events taking place tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, y'all. Lord, the white conservatives are really upset, y'all, because Harvard has rescinded its offer of admission to Kyle Kashuv, a former Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School student and an advocate for gun rights, because of racist and anti-Semitic posts on social media. In an exclusive interview with Fox News, he offered an explanation and an apology.
Joining me now in a story exclusive to the man himself, Kyle Kashuv. Kyle, good evening.
How's it going, Ed?
It's going well, but I want to talk to you. I want to get to Harvard in a moment, but I want to start with you. What were you thinking?
Well, at that time, it was really a friend group where who could say the most shocking thing and most extreme thing for the sake of shock value. And I'm extremely sorry for it. And I wish I could have taken it back, but I can't. All I can do right now is seek to right this wrong. And I know that forgiveness isn't given, it's earned. And I know that, you know, the person who wrote those things is not who I am today.
The person who wrote those things is not who I am today. Really. Now, y'all, this is a screenshot of what he wrote. Let's see here. Nigga, like I'm really good at typing nigga. Okay, like practice makes perfect, son. First of all, let's also be clear. Harvard has done this before. Last year, Harvard rescinded 10 invites. Universities have done this before. Social media stuff. And I love this. It happened a long time ago. He's 18. It happened 16. When he was 16.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this is called consequences. There are athletes who have lost their scholarship. Same thing. There was a baseball player who had made some racist comments on social media, lost his scholarship offer. So there's no guarantee that you get to go to Harvard.
Yeah, they have a right to rescind it. I was critical of Kyle when this first came out. Obviously, his comments were disgusting. I saw the interview. I can't remember the anchor's name.
Ed Henry?
Yeah, Ed Henry did a good job of pushing back on him. His apology this morning was about as unfulfilling as the one that he initially made. I don't, honestly, and I'll be honest, I don't know many conservatives who are upset.
Oh, no. There are a number of people who on social media, your Ben Shapiro's of the world.
Yeah.
You have, say it again?
Charlie Kirk.
Well, you have Charlie Kirk. You have
Charlie Kirk.
You have David Brooks, who's out there in the New York Times, who's talking about, hey, people make mistakes. Can't we just forgive them?
Yeah. So all of that stuff is true. People do make mistakes. The fact that Charlie is not criticizing him, he's a member of his organization, and I don't remember Charlie Kirk saying anything about it when it first came out.
You can look. He tweeted about it.
He
said, "Shame on Harvard."
Well, I'm talking about when the initial comments that Kyle made.
Oh,
I don't recall him saying anything.
David A. French of the National Review, in today's post-Christian, allegedly more tolerant culture, apologies are not enough. He has to be punished.
Yeah, well, I personally don't know, and in my network, I don't know anyone who's really upset by this. What I will say, although as disgusting as his comments are, obviously Yale had the right to
Harvard.
I'm sorry. Harvard has the right to rescind the application of anyone or admittance of anyone. I do think that we should be careful that we're not going down a rabbit hole. I feel this, as disgusting as his comments were, I feel a similar way that I felt about the football player. I can't think of the black football player who made homophobic comments. I think he was the highest, he was just drafted. I can't think of the young man who was just drafted. But
the white guy? Bosa?
No, he was black. No, I'm saying he was black, but I can't think of what his name is. We talked about him on this show. It was
I know you had the white guy Bosa.
No, I'm talking about who was a black guy.
Who retweeted white nationalist folks.
No, I'm talking
comments,
about.
And he's also a Trump lover.
No, I'm talking about the black kid who was just drafted who made the homophobic comments. It was around the same time of the comments about.
Don't know. Do a Google search. Let us know. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, but my point is that I feel the same way about him, where people were saying that he should not be drafted into the NFL or should lose whatever he has, the status that he has, because of homophobic comments that he later apologized for. I think he may have been 14 or so at the time. But my point is
that's really different, though.
But
go from 22 to 14.
Well, your racism, my homophobia,
a year and a half.
so you don't get to gauge that for me.
No, actually, I would dare say if you're talking about if somebody makes.
Well, I'm talking about me. So me personally, I can only speak for myself. When it comes to things like racism and homophobia, I don't draw a distinction between the two. So
no, I'm not drawing that. I'm talking about the time period.
But
when you're
14 versus 16, that really doesn't matter.
No, but
say what?
14 versus 16 doesn't matter to me when you're
2 years and 8 years. I mean, okay.
We're talking about racism and homophobia.
Kyle is making the argument about growth. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you're telling me 14 to 22, that's 8 years.
You didn't grow up
16 to 18,
yeah.
Not just, I mean, I can't speak on anybody's developmental growth. What I can say is that had the person who recorded these screenshots not revealed said screenshots, he would be in Harvard right now. Those sentiments would be in Harvard right now. And he probably still has like some Google chat typey thingy with a bunch of N-words in it right now while he's about to take gap year. But after his gap year, he'd be in Harvard saying the N-word ad nauseum, as well as anti-Semitic marks, even though he's Jewish himself. So in terms of growth, again, I can't really speak to exactly how much he's grown, but I think this is more of a matter of him being caught and him just trying to cover his ass for it.
Jason, here's the thing that cracks me up. All people who go, look, this happened, and he was just 16, and then they're saying, you know what, this is not right.
Meanwhile, Rice is dead.
And then of course Ben Shapiro, big time conservative, he's like, no student is going to be able to qualify. Yeah. See, let me help. Let me help. So put the camera back on me. To all future white applicants of Harvard. If you do not want to go the right of Kyle, this is what you should do. Don't say nigger. Don't type it. Don't use it. If you don't want to be in the same situation as him, don't be a racist. Don't use racist language. Because see, here's the piece that people just somehow keep overlooking. Do you know what it requires to literally type? Nigga, 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 nigga. That means that Michael Richards, when he was on stage, the guy who was on Seinfeld, I was on CNN with Paul Mooney and we were discussing this here. This wasn't a bit. This was anger at an audience member. I remember he gave an interview and he said, I don't know where it came from. It just came rushing out.
Yes, I forgot.
Nothing comes rushing out that's not in. You can't say nigga unless it's in you. You can't type it unless you've said it before. The reality is, if Kyle really want to be honest, he has said that word for a number of years. The peers around him, they have been comfortable saying that because, this was an exercise where we were all like, who could say the most outrageous thing? You, Kyle, were with a group of people where this was common. It wasn't out of the ordinary. That is the reality. So if y'all white kids don't want to lose out on your scholarships and lose out on your what you think is your guaranteed spot at Harvard and at Yale and Columbia, the other Ivy Leagues, this is real simple. Don't be racist. Don't be bigots. Then you ain't gonna get busted. It's really not hard being Shapiro. But if y'all want to be comfortable being racist, I keep saying we are more than happy to expose you and talk about you at every turn. That's just the real deal.
And I agree. And you know, I am a believer in second chances. I will say this. If you're taking a gap year, Kyle, figure out what you're going to do to make this right. Take that time to actually do something for the communities that you offended.
Hold on. But he said he offered to work with the inclusion office on the Harvard campus. I love the Harvard clapback. Well, why don't you go work with some local groups?
Right. which is like, and
it didn't
again,
mean anything to me when I heard him say.
You know, boo-hoo-hoo, you have to go to Cornell now. You know what I mean? Like, oh my.
No, he has to reapply, apparently.
Yeah.
He has to reapply to everything.
All right, well,
He might have to go to community college.
Oh my God.
like a common.
Free college?
I'm so sorry.
Free college?
Like the
Kyle, I'm so sorry.
Like all those people he was calling an N-word? You mean?
Kyle, I'm so sorry you can't get to go to Harvard, boo.
Well, the person that the young man that I was talking about was Kyler Murray. That's who I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the comments we do.
Yeah,
but I will say is that, you know, this is something, and this is just a lesson. It's not really just for Kyle. This is about just how we, you know, so we have to talk to our kids about their social media in general, because I'm sure there are a lot of things that people, you know, I tell my relatives or friends, look, y'all need to calm down on social media. Like, you want a job.
I've done it.
So, yeah, we need to really be mindful of it.
All right, folks, an update to the story brought to you yesterday for the attorney for Drayvon Ames and Leisha Harper. The Phoenix couple, where the cop acted a fool, drew a gun on them when their kid took a doll. They filed a $10 million lawsuit against the city for the brutal attack on their family. And, of course, we'll continue to update the story. They also say they don't want an apology from the cop. They say, damn it, we want you to be fired. All right, folks, tonight on OWN, they have a new soap opera show launching called Ambitions. It's from my frat brother, Will Packer. And we were in Miami for the American Black Film Festival, where I had a chance to sit down with the cast of Ambitions. And since it's, you know, soap opera, I had to begin with the most obvious question.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Let's talk ambitions. Who's a hoe on the show? Somebody always a hoe.
Interesting that this is what you're fixated on, Roland Martin.
What?
This is what you're fixated on, Roland Martin?
It's a soap opera. I grew up watching soaps.
My eyes keep going like this.
I don't know. So, Brian, you the hoe.
Do you want to address that, Brian?
Allegedly. I'm the alleged hoe. I think... I mean, politics makes for strange bedfellows.
Right.
It's a political show, and I think everybody's going to be perusing their options.
So you're a black Trump?
Yes. I'm a Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Jay-Z, Will Smith.
Okay, all right then. Okay, all right.
Moguls. I'm a mogul, and I'm a politician, and I'm a man in a position of power with a woman who's also in a position of power. We have lots of money and lots of problems because of that money.
Saying a man is only as loyal as his...
There's a microphone. I know.
What's that saying? A man is only as loyal as his options. So, being in political office as the mayor of Atlanta...
Are you trying to say Rob's not an option? No, I'm just trying to,
No,
Look, he like, damn, he went there.
I'm just saying that Brian has options being the mayor of Atlanta. A powerful, black, successful, handsome man who's educated is going to have many options.
And what's interesting about this story, we talk all the time through the years, this family, the Carlyles have had money before Black Wall Street. All right, and we are in the era of a president and a person in charge of education, Ms. DeVos, who doesn't even want Black Wall Street to exist to these kids that are coming through middle school and high school. We're a story that starts from the place of a family of 3 generations of billions of dollars. And now a guy who's coming from nothing trying to elevate himself and marry into money. I'm a social climber. And we are talking about concepts and parts of society that are interacting that we've never seen before.
Do you love your wife?
I love my wife dearly. I placed her on a pedestal and I'm trying to level up.
Those other women that you're in the shower with and all that stuff, you love your wife?
I'm just trying to make myself feel good enough and confident enough to come home and hold it down for you the proper way. See?
So, like, good answer. All right, so who?
You can't love anybody else unless you love yourself, right? Oh my God.
So, our answers, I go to you. So, what will be the most interesting thing for folks who watch this show come Tuesday?
I can't narrow it down to the most interesting thing. I think people are going to really love how many twists and turns are a part of this show, but they don't feel out of nowhere. They feel very grounded and very much motivated. You see the decisions and the wheels turning for these characters. You see the moment where it changes, and you root for it, even if it's diabolical.
Either one of you soap opera fans growing up?
Yes. Yes, I grew up raised by my grandparents in rural Texas, so I watched all of them. It was a little town called DeKalb near Texarkana, and as you know, from the start of the morning to the end of the day, it was the Young and the Restless days of our lives. You know, at nighttime it was Dallas and Dynasty. So then when I became a teenager, Melrose Place, all the Aaron Spelling ones. Yeah, huge soap fan.
I'm sorry, not soap. Black people, it's stories.
Stories. I gotta watch my story.
So what was your story? What was your family's story?
I was about to say, yeah, because we were sort of forced to watch it, even though we didn't want to. General Hospital.
Yeah.
Mom's had it on 24/7.
General Hospital, Ryan's Hope, All My Children, One Life to Live.
Guiding Lights.
Right.
You know what I mean? We just, that was on TV 24/7.
What is it about black people and stories? I mean, because black folks love some soap.
Well, Latinas love the telenovelas, so it's not
Yeah,
just...
that telenovela. I'm talking about stories.
It's the aspirational aspect of it. You're sitting at home, you're ironing your clothes if you're the mom, and it's like you see these rich people behaving badly, and it just draws you in. And the opulent sets, the mansions, the hair, the women who, like Stephanie, who does and says things that you don't get to say in your real life. It's like, oh, she just cussed her sister-in-law out in a way that would make my family fall apart for good, but she gets to do it with a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And you know, and they all get to sleep with these beautiful people and you know, keep their marriages intact. And, you know, in real life, that doesn't always happen.
It also levels the playing field and shows that the human condition affects everyone. We have billionaire families in this show. We have poor families in this show. And we all suffer from the same things. We all struggle with the same things. We all have the same weaknesses. And I think as viewers, whoever you identify with, you know, like if this was Sex and the City or Girlfriends, everybody picked a character that they identified with. They're going to be able to understand all of them, even though they only identify with one, because it makes them all. It makes us all human. It makes all levels of society, all levels of the economy human, and we start to understand people are just people.
So, Robin, which episode will you be wearing a trench coat?
Well, you know,
this ain't a regular ass interview. See, I will pull from all kind of sources.
I was like doing something at home the other day, and you know, like OWN was on. Next thing you know, this guy was throwing me up a desk, and I was taking my shirt off, and my legs were in the air, and I was like, "What the heck is happening?"
So then, what happened when the cameras are rolling? I'm sorry.
Roland's being very naughty.
Yes, somebody got to do it.
Then let me tell you, if you like being naughty, then our show is the show for you.
Yes. I think that people will love this show. It's so much fun. And let me tell you something. Men are going to love this show.
Why is that?
Well, because there are naked women everywhere.
They'll do it. They'll do it every time.
That's part.
They'll do it every time.
Here, let me go to a smart.
Essence, you miss Goody Two Shoes in this, or you get your freak on too?
Oh, she gets her freak on.
I do get.
She gets her freak on.
Yes.
There's a great shot where he's like kissing her booty. Like it's a great shot. It
Okay,
goes up
Robin, it's called
I think she looks so beautiful.
Robin, the new phrase, that's eating groceries. As the new. I need you to keep up.
Oh my gosh.
What? This is a grown-ass show. This is a grown-ass interview. What is wrong with y'all?
We just take one.
It's like I'm talking to some 16-year-old cast or something. Like, oh my God, did he just say that? Yes, I did.
No, Roland. I mean, that was a bit. That was definitely a part of the attraction to
I keep up.
To take this job, to do this role, was the fact.
Save us.
Was the fact that I'm not a goody two shoes. She's hilarious. Oh my God.
Oh, what'd you say?
Oh
my God. You said he's vegan? Hey, baby, that ain't pork.
Roland Martin has corrupted me.
I love watching Roland.
What? I can do more talk about the news.
Oh my God. I'm sweating.
Oh, man.
Look, what's wrong? Essence, you blushing over there? Look.
June 18th.
Yes, please.
You're going to love this show.
And eat your
Hashtag ambition.
I'm gonna add. That's right.
Oh my God.
Hashtag ambition.
Hashtag keep it grown, keep it freaky. All right. I appreciate it, folks. All I'm saying, look, you can't talk about a soap opera and not talk about getting freaking. What?
Hey, somebody's groceries and didn't eat.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna watch it. You know.
Vegan groceries.
Hey.
Okay. All right.
Look.
My mom is watching. I'm not saying nothing.
Look,
I'm not
here's the
saying
deal.
a word.
In radio, there's a phrase called "go with the bit." Okay, so like when you're on the radio and something happens, you go with the bit. So you don't sit there and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe." No, you don't try to explain. No, you go with the bit. You allow the bit to develop. The moment she said it was sitting right there.
Yeah, right.
Make a comment and elicits a reaction from the group there. That's the point. You go with the bit. I'm sorry some folks ain't as quick.
New terminology for me.
No, it ain't. No, everybody know. It's an old phrase in media. Go with the bit.
I'm familiar, but that's just not the bit I would have gone with. Like,
yeah, I ain't know we were talking about go with the bit. I thought we were talking about eating the groceries.
This ain't it.
I was like, they've been saying that for a long time.
But okay.
I just heard that.
Y'all
Today I eat them.
Y'all notice how puritanical this panel has gotten. You know, like, oh my God, my dad's watching.
That's her.
Yeah, all right, go in there.
Yes, it is me.
Yeah, go in there.
Yes, it is.
Ask your dad.
Shout out to my wife. She know what's up.
Yeah, ask your dad about groceries.
She know what's up.
Ask your dad about groceries.
He just had a kid, too.
Hey.
Yeah, he just had a kid.
Right.
How the hell he had a kid?
Let's just say my plate was full. With groceries.
Okay, I'm a little too close to you right now. That's a lie.
You little what?
As long as my kids don't see it, it's all good.
Yeah, all right, Kelly. Yeah. Let's see what the hell is on your iPod.
Nothing.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Text messages in the Bible, what?
Yeah, okay, all right.
That's it.
Text messages with who saying
hey,
what?
y'all want to know something?
My mother.
If y'all want, girl, please. Tell you who think you talking to? Y'all want something? You want to hear something?
Listen,
You ain't,
your girlfriend's gonna.
You know, doggone well, you got Dina Howard t-shirt and panties on your doggone iPod. Don't even front. Don't even front.
Oh, that was the joint.
Don't even front.
Dina.
Don't even front. Stop it.
Dina Howard. Shout out for Dina
She got Bible lyrics on her phone.
I do.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Somewhere.
Yeah, which Bible lyrics? Which Bible lyrics? Songs of Solomon?
That's a good book. Okay.
Yeah, I bet you'd have read it cover to cover.
Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, why don't you go and pull up a verse from Songs of Solomon?
No, I got
Tell us about it.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
That's between me and my Lord.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's written. We all have read it.
Okay.
So it ain't like it's a personal book between you and God.
But this isn't one of those two or more gathered situations. This is a personal relationship.
Well, it was two. It was two who were gathered when he wrote Songs of Solomon.
Oh,
Y'all, see, this would happen when church people try to act like they all churchy and they all holy. And then, of course, they run against somebody who's actually read the Bible. If y'all want to know some of the freakiest stuff,
Song of Solomon is it?
Read Songs of Solomon.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All I'm saying, they'll make a Dina Howard go, damn. That's all I'm saying. All right, y'all. Ambitious tonight on OWN. Check it out. Hope y'all enjoyed that. All right, y'all. Tomorrow, we got a lot of sort of stuff for you. Poor People's Campaign, Poor People's Congress ends tomorrow. Also, Black folks today met, talk about the U.S. Census. I was going to get to that. I'll save it for tomorrow. And so, frankly, hell, I say so much stuff for tomorrow because we had so much good stuff today. Hell, tomorrow's pretty much already done. So it's going to be a light day for the staff. And so, again, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to support Roland Martin Unfiltered by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, joining our Bring the Funk fan club. You can, of course, join us via Cash App, PayPal, Square, you name it. You can do that. And so we want you to support this show because, again, we're talking about stuff other folks are not talking about. So we want to thank Tamika Mallory, Richard Carranza, the chancellor of the New York City Public School System, for joining us on the show today. And, again, we got a big one for you tomorrow as well. So jam-packed. Look forward to it. See, this is why we got to have our own stuff. Because y'all know Carl ain't going to talk about this stuff. Y'all know Laura Ingraham ain't going to talk about this kind of stuff. Y'all know Don Lemon ain't going to talk about this kind of
Lemon
stuff.
is definitely not going to talk about
Or Chris Como. Or Jay Tapper.
No.
They ain't going to discuss this kind of stuff. It ain't going to happen on Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, Lawrence O'Donnell. This is why we got to have our own. We can have a conversation. Like groceries.
You just, okay.
Just saying.
All right.
Kelly, stop fronting over there. Stop fronting. Stop fronting, because your stuff going to reveal it. People going to go through your Twitter feed real soon. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Holla! Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Okay, folks, coming up at Roland Martin Unfiltered for Tuesday, June 18, 2019. Activists march in New York demanding that all of the cases of Linda Fairstein be reopened. The rally took place outside the New York District Attorney's Office of Cyrus Vance on yesterday. We'll talk with Tamika Mallory, one of the co-leaders of the Women's March. Harvard rescinds its offer to a Parkland high school student for racist and anti-Semitic posts on social media.